Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be doing another response video to one of Brethren Lee's videos. This one's a couple of months old and it's entitled Victim or Complicit. And I have to say that it's some of the most vulgar and infuriating content I've ever seen on YouTube. Because of that, I'm not going to use a lot of the video in my response. I'll use a couple of short clips to basically just establish his thesis, to lay out the topic, and then I'm going to focus on the topic and not specifically on the content of Lee's video. I'm not going to tell you not to go watch the rest of his video. You're certainly welcome to do that. But if you do, just be prepared to see content that could make you pretty angry, especially if you're the parent of girls.
In the Bible, if a woman was being raped in the city and she screamed, then the man who did it, they stoned him to death. She was innocent. But if she didn't scream, she was complicit, and she suffered the same as he did. On the other hand, if a woman was raped in the countryside, she was already credited with screaming, even though she may not have, because she was in the area where no one could help her. In the world today, we have child molestation happen over and over again. No doubt about it, the adults are guilty who engage in this. They deserve punishment. There surely should not be any leadership roles. But does that make the young ones engaged in this innocent? Does that make them just victims? Well, again, it just depends on the situation. When you know something's wrong and you go back to the situation and do it again, in what way are you a victim? No, you're no longer a victim, you're a complicit. Because what you should have done was, at least once you left the situation, whatever happened there, at least have gone to authorities, to police officers, to someone that could help you to get out of the situation. But if you go back, how is it that you're a victim?
Let the magnitude of what he's just said sink in for a second. People hear a claim like that and they think it's simple. If it happened again, she must have wanted it. But that's not the truth. That's ignorance dressed up as certainty and moral superiority. Let's talk about what really silences victims. People like Lee love to say, well, if it happened more than once, you must have gone back to it. Or as he said in the video clip there, you engaged in it. But that's not how grooming works. And deep down, most adults know it, especially if they come out of an environment like the Watchtower. Grooming isn't hypnosis. It's not force. It's the slow reshaping of a young person's sense of safety and choice, one step at a time. I want to give a quick shout out to Grace Tame, who, as a former victim of abuse, is out there on the front lines doing everything she can to get the word out about what grooming really is. And it happens through 6 specific phases. Phase 1 is targeting the individual. Find someone who is vulnerable, whose circumstances make it easy to manipulate them. Second, gain their trust. Establish a connection with the victim to make them feel seen and heard, to feel safe and secure. The third phase is filling a need. Find a gap in the mental or emotional support system of the victim and step into it. Tell them what they want to hear. Step 4 is to isolate the victim. Silence those outside voices. Break down legitimate relationships from real supporters. After all, no one understands them like you do, right? Step 5 is sexualizing it. Gradually expose the target to sexual themes, content, and conduct to normalize it. Think of the frog in boiling water analogy. This applies certainly to the grooming process overall, but especially to this phase specifically. And step 6 is maintaining control of the victim. Strike a balance between causing the pain and soothing it to create a dependency on the abuser for self-worth and self-esteem. See, the predator slowly builds trust, attention, and approval, convincing the young person that he's the one person who truly sees and understands them. And then over time, the boundaries subtly shift. A joke here, a touch there, a tiny little secret to keep. By the time the abuse happens, the child isn't thinking, I'm being hurt. She's thinking, I don't want to lose the only person who makes me feel valued. That's not consent, friends. That's conditioning. Now take that grooming process we've just looked at and layer that over the control system inside organizations like the Jehovah's Witnesses, something that Lee knows a lot about. He knows it inside out. In that world, children are taught that elders speak for Jehovah, that disobedience equals rebellion against God, that leaving means losing everyone you love and potentially your life at Armageddon. Their two-witness rule makes justice impossible because sexual abuse almost never has witnesses. And that's despite the fact that the concept of having witnesses was never intended for contexts like abuse. A careful study of the Old Testament will verify that. Victims are told not to go to police, not to bring reproach on Jehovah's name, or they'll be shunned. And if they do report it inside the congregation, they potentially face a judicial committee. 3 men, sometimes even including their abuser, sitting in judgment of them, where a vulnerable, frightened victim may actually hear questions like, did you like it? She's expected to describe everything in detail, potentially in front of the man who hurt her, while being told Jehovah is watching to see if she tells it the right way. That's not justice. That's psychological torture dressed up as spirituality. It's a lie and it's evil. And it doesn't stop there. The system weaponizes the very people she loves the most. She's warned, directly or indirectly, that if she talks, her parents could be disfellowshipped, that her words could cost them their standing before God and their eternal life. So she carries the guilt of silence to protect her family because that's what she's been taught love means. That's not complicity. That's captivity reinforced by devotion. That's using her faith against her. She can't leave or be disfellowshipped, and if she stays, she faces repeated abuse and recrimination by people like Lee. And that's not right. When someone like Lee says, if she didn't tattle, she's to blame, they're pretending grooming doesn't exist. And he's done exactly that in the comments on his video. Because if they admit that grooming is real, they must face what that means, not just for her, but for them. For a long time, Jehovah's Witness to claim that they don't understand grooming is like a fish saying it doesn't know about water. Their entire system is built on it. From childhood, you're taught who to trust, what to fear, what to read, who to cut off, who you can talk to. Obedience equals love. Questioning, well, that's rebellion. You get rewards for compliance, isolation for doubt. That's grooming too. Not for sex, but for manipulation and control. So when a child raised in that world gets groomed by a predator inside it, The groundwork's already been laid. She's been trained to believe that saying no to an authority figure is saying no to God. Maybe the problem isn't that they don't understand grooming. Maybe they understand it too well and just can't face what it says about the system that shaped them. My friends, silence doesn't mean consent. For people in a situation like this, it means survival in a world where adults build cages out of fear, guilt, and faith. When that silence stretches on, it's not because the child wanted it to happen again. Who would? It's because every voice around her told her not to speak, and the shame for that silence doesn't belong to her. It belongs to the men who used power to take what wasn't theirs, and to the system that taught her to fear truth more than sin. And if you're someone who blames the victim who's trying to survive, I've got news for you. You are the one who's complicit. If you or someone you know is a victim of grooming and abuse, don't stay silent. Find your voice. Check out the video description for a list of great resources. There are people out there who are willing and ready to help.